From the unexplained to the mundane, come join us on a journey to the fringe.
Hello and welcome to Journey to the Fringe, now with 13% more jazz hands. We are your much more visually appealing podcast hosts, Taylor and Chelsea, and today we answer the question, what the fuck is going on with Britney? This is the long version. I believe it will be 2 parts. Chelsea's going to have a lot of fun with this because, man, are there way more conspiracy theories about Britney Spears than you'd expect.
There are so many. And so, yeah, it's going to be 2 parts. We're breaking it up. I didn't want it to be this long, but it just has to. And we're going to go on a ride. Not like the kind of ride that we did with Serpo. We're coming off Serpo. This is a much different, crazier ride.
Grounded in reality, for some of it at least.
I forgot for a sec what I was talking about.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a very real thing. Let's say that.
Britney Spears definitely existed at some point in time.
Yes. Okay. So let's just talk about it.
Is that how we start with it?
Yeah, that is how we
Okay.
start with it. I don't think we do conspiracy theories nearly enough. They're like the asshole of the UFO community, just not directed at a specific person. It's like a fringy idea. Some of them are pretty ridiculous. And I'm just trying to think, do you remember the last conspiracy theory we did? Have we done a conspiracy theory?
Well, I guess technically shrinkflation is a conspiracy theory. It's groups conspiring.
Okay.
It really depends on what you mean by that. Because a conspiracy theory is only a theory if it's not confirmed. If it is confirmed, it's a conspiracy.
That's true. Shrinkflation's confirmed.
Yeah.
Hollow Earth. I don't know if that's a conspiracy theory.
It's a conspiracy theory. People are hiding it.
Okay. Okay.
Antarctica, definitely. We've done a bunch.
Yeah. Okay.
Operation Paperclip, a confirmed conspiracy.
Okay, yeah, so we've done a few, not nearly enough, so maybe we'll have to start adding on there. I'm quite intrigued by this one, and I think it's something a lot of people may be intrigued about as well, because I've been seeing this question pop up a lot more around social media lately, and that is, like Taylor said, where is Britney Spears? I know you may be thinking to yourself, Chelsea, what do you mean where is Britney Spears? Her Instagram is off the hook crazy. I follow her as well. I know this. But I'm not going to give too much away right off the bat, so let's just go down this rabbit hole together, shan't we? Let me just start with, you need to know the story before I get to the conspiracy theory. I'm saying conspiracy theory a lot. We have to first set the stage for the conspiracy theory. So we're going to go through all of what Britney's about, what's getting us to the point of the conspiracy theory before we get to the conspiracy theory. And I'm going to make some of this as brief as possible. Don't come at me if there's people that are here because they love Britney Spears. I am doing this for the conspiracy theories. In particular, I am not up on her life. So I've researched this to the extent that I find adequate. With that introduction, Let me get you it.
You should always know the standard that we hold ourselves to on researching is good enough.
Yes, it's true. I'm just getting you to where you need to be. I am not giving you the full autobiography of Britney Spears. What I have is correct. So, if you haven't been living under a rock or in the woods, surely you would have heard of Britney Spears. And if you haven't, then surely you have at least heard of one of her songs. Maybe One More Time, Oops, I Did It Again.
Possibly if you're under 25, you might not know who Britney Spears is.
I'm sure they would still know. And those 2 songs that I gave you are specifically my age group. She has other songs that you might know her for. There's tons. She's one of the biggest pop stars. So, Britney Spears is essentially a child star. Since preschool, she's been performing, loved performing. She was in performing art schools, vocal lessons, beauty pageants. She was going to talent agencies. Eventually, she's on Star Search, Mickey Mouse Club, blah, blah, blah. Let's keep in mind, this is not little Britney driving to different states to enter beauty pageants. It's her mom mostly driving her to different states, entering her into these pageants, renting condos in New York so that she can do all of this stuff. And they're struggling financially. They declare bankruptcy even, but that doesn't stop them from doing this for their daughter. Eventually, she gets connected with the right people and releases Baby One More Time when she's 16 years old and immediately rockets to stardom, debuting at #1. She's breaking records, releasing albums, buying a home, hosting music award shows, dating Justin Timberlake, playing the Super Bowl. That's singing in the halftime, not playing football.
Not a player, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
She put out a movie, signing deals with Pepsi, giving iconic performances.
Wait, I forgot that she was in that weird, pretty bad
Pepsi
acted
thing?
movie. Yeah, like
Oh yeah, the
Directions
movie
or something like
yeah.
that.
She could do whatever the fuck she wanted. She's Britney Spears.
The early 2000s were a good time to be Britney Spears.
It was, yeah.
Or related to her. Do you remember when her sister got that deal and she was just awful?
Yep. She got the show on Disney. So yeah, she's giving iconic performances with the White Snake. I'm pretty sure PETA was all over that. She's kissing Madonna. Just wildly popular and successful. And in 2002, Forbes named her the world's most powerful celebrity.
And she would have been like, I think she was still under
Very
18
young.
at the time, correct?
I think she was, yes. Very young. She's 25 when she goes into the conservatorship. So she's very young. So she's just wildly successful. She's making perfumes and other successful stuff. And let me just add, given literally no tools to be able to deal with everything that comes along with this huge stardom. She's kind of one of the first people that all this mania starts happening around with the paparazzi, just like Beatles level fans and stuff like that.
But all towards one person, yeah.
Yeah, I think that gives you a brief, good enough fringy idea of Britney Spears and what you need to know up until this point. So yeah, she's very successful. I guess we see that with a lot of child stars, which I would consider her to be, a certain amount of mental health issues that come along with it. You see with basically every child star out there that has had anything to say that we care about. She rose to a huge level of success very young. I can't imagine anyone being able to be prepared for that. So let's continue. I'm going to slow down a little coming up into this info. January 2004, she marries her childhood friend Jason Alexander in Las Vegas, and they get it annulled.
And then he gets a record deal.
What, does he?
Yeah, K-Fed, isn't that who he is?
No, this is different. So she was married first before him. Yeah, so they're married Las Vegas. It gets annulled 55 hours later, stating, quote, she lacked understanding of her actions. July 2004, this is the same year, she gets engaged to Kevin Federline, and they get married in September 2004. So all on a very short timeline. It's here we start to see some craziness happening. I always empathized with her. She's the biggest celebrity at the time. She probably still is. People still care. And paparazzi make a career out of doing anything to get a photograph of her. Hundreds of paparazzi would camp outside of her house waiting for her, chasing her in her car. It's dangerous for her, the way they're trying to get a shot. Hordes of them. I can't even imagine living a life with these people around me. And I know some people say that's what they signed up to do with their stardom, but I really don't feel like because you're a celebrity, it gives you the right to do what these people do to make a living, taking pictures of celebrities. Anyway, controversy, so to say, starts happening in her life. February 2005, she is banned from the Oscars along with Paris Hilton in a bid to prevent the evening turning into a down market scrum. This is also the same year she has her first child. And you start hearing rumblings of child services checking in on the Federlines for things like Britney driving a car with the baby on her lap. A lot of this is argued by her as being swarmed by the paparazzi, and she was scared and trying to get away from them and protect her baby.
Which sounds like a reasonable answer, actually.
Yeah, and just to kind of prove the craziness around her, there's this really sad picture of her like crying, holding her baby, like sitting down somewhere. And the context of the picture is she ducked into a restaurant to get away from all these people swarming her, all the paparazzi swarming her, trying to get a picture with her kid. And she sits in there and tells the owner, like, I'm just trying to get away from the paparazzi. And the owner ends up taking these pictures and selling them of her. I can't even imagine being in that situation. She just must feel so helpless in that. Her next child's born in 2006, and then divorce is filed later that year from K-Fed, finalized in 2007, citing irreconcilable differences. This is where it all sadly starts to crumble for Britney. It's a bad year, 2007. She's getting divorced. She has a death to someone very close to her in the family, her aunt that dies of ovarian cancer. She checks herself into a rehab facility for less than a day. Upon her return, she makes her way over to K-Fed's house where she wants to see her kids, and he refuses. So this is when she ends up shaving her head. She's followed by the paparazzi. She shaves her head in a total meltdown, attacks the paparazzi's car with an umbrella. And you know what? I consider myself a mostly sane person. I don't actually blame her for these actions. I can only imagine what she's feeling in that moment, and to be trailed by hundreds of paparazzi trying to get this picture, having a complete meltdown. Britney Spears said herself on a deleted YouTube video she put out after the conservatorship that, quote, literally the extent of my madness was playing chase with paparazzi, end quote. In October, she loses custody of her sons. This year, she also gives a horrible performance of Gimme More at the MTV Video Music Awards. January 2008, Spears has time with her sons, and when the time is up, she's so desperate to have any time with her sons, she refuses to relinquish them back to Fenderline. There's a standoff with the police and they're intervening, and she was hospitalized, multiple mental evaluations. Weeks later, she is taken to a hospital in LA, and the court declares her father, Richard Doty, just kidding, Jamie Spears.
No, they declared Richard Doty her dad.
To be Jamie Spears, her dad, to be head of this little thing called a conservatorship, whom she is openly estranged from. Her father, not the conservatorship. She actually eventually came out and said she did not want him to be put in charge. She was afraid of him and actually petitioned the court, but the judge said nah. Jamie declares to Britney at this point, I am Britney Spears now. I call the shots. Under the conservatorship, she has two guardians. Her dad, who is conservator of her estate, money, and person, and Andrew Wallet is also a co-conservator of her estate. Now, Taylor, do you know anything about a conservatorship?
I know vaguely about them because I did follow this when it happened a while back. And basically, you have no control over your life.
Okay, so you know it from Britney Spears.
Yes.
Okay, so a conservatorship...
They actually surprisingly happen a ton with child stars. I believe Amanda Bynes is actually under one, too.
She is, yeah.
But she is just insane.
I would consider her, just from what I've seen of her, definitely more insane than Britney Spears. Sorry if you're listening, Amanda Bynes.
Yeah, I'm sorry if you're one of our listeners. I've actually heard that it becomes more of an issue with child actors because they're used to, at a younger age, pretending to be and getting praise for not being themselves. So they get cognitive dissociation with their own personality.
I could see that.
But I don't know the science behind it. I don't know if that's true or not, but it would make sense.
I mean, there's a lot of messed up things with child anything, not child anything, of course. Child stars. You see a lot of them messed up. Look at the Coreys.
Corey Good being one of them, of course.
Yes. The three Coreys, of course. They probably find that pretty offensive.
Yeah.
Two Coreys, that is. Okay, let's talk about what a conservatorship is. A conservatorship, also known as a guardianship in other states, it's known as a conservatorship in California, appoints someone to manage the financial and or personal affairs of a significantly incapacitated person, which is usually someone elderly.
I used to draft them up, their healthcare agreements in BC.
Oh, really?
If you can't take care of yourself, this person you can assign to like make decisions on your behalf, and you give them direction for it.
Yeah. It's costly and a time-consuming legal process and an extreme option compared to something like a power of attorney or a special needs trust, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I'm on the right track. Like I said, and Taylor was just saying, this is usually put into place for someone who's elderly and, say, has dementia and can't pay their bills, can't go to the bathroom, can't feed themselves, needs to make sure they go to the doctor, a truly incapacitating condition that would not allow you to take care of yourself.
Yeah, it can be done for the young people as well. Like, correct. If they're in a coma, somebody who has severe schizophrenia, who, when they have a mental relapse, will not enter themselves into a facility that can help them because they think that the doctors there are aliens who will be performing autopsies on them or something like that, or biopsies.
That's terrifying.
So, so they would put that other person in charge when they have these relapses.
Okay, that makes sense.
So it can happen definitely for younger people too.
But like an extreme situation, as you pointed out as
exactly.
well. Like I said above, it is said that Britney Spears was put into the hospital. She's put on something called a 5150, which is a psychiatric hold for mental evaluation. However, the reason for the court's decision to award this conservatorship, while you get access to tons of their documents, there's hearsay of why she came into this conservatorship. There's no actual official diagnosis or not, which was the cause for them to say this is why we need the conservatorship and has granted. In Britney Spears' YouTube, she put out talking about this after she was freely able to talk after the conservatorship. She even said she wasn't sure why she was under it, and she was very confused about the whole situation. She also said when she was first hospitalized by her parents, she was completely sober. No drugs in her system, no alcohol, no nothing. It was just pure abuse by her parents. She said, I think the main thing I do remember when it all started was my dad's want for control. He loved controlling everything I did. Now, that's end of her quote. Now, barring that diagnosis, I myself feel a little confused about the conservatorship because there are tons of mentally ill people functioning in society. I would say probably 99.9% not under conservatorships. There are people spending money stupidly. Again, not under conservatorships. I do wonder what made the court rule to place her under this thing because she essentially loses all of her freedoms.
Yeah, you would actually probably be surprised the rate of like child actors that end up in this and child stars that end up in conservatorships. I think, and this is somewhat speculative on my end, very cynic, but it's to protect the assets.
Yes.
Because they have a lot of money that other people make off them, like say the music studio and people that own arenas, people that are in the music industry. They want to continue to make money off of this person, and they don't want to have the liability out there of this person having control over their life. So they put somebody in a position to maintain a level of monotony in their life and not allow them to do things that would lose potential value.
You bring up a very, very good point. Literally, that puts it better than I have in this whole thing. So I'm glad that you said that. So the conservatorship was in charge of literally every aspect of her life. Every. But I'm going to go through a few things with the conservatorship, which her dad was in charge of. That included making business decisions, contracts, including albums, residencies, that kind of stuff. Investment, she had no say over where her money was invested. Giving detailed financial reports to the courts. That included every single penny spent would have had to be detailed, including when she would take her sons out and like want to buy them a hot dog, go out for fast food, go to a movie. Every single cost had to be accounted for. Also paying the maintenance of the conservatorship, which took up the largest portion of BS's fortune during this time.
Because, you know, acting as a conservator, especially court-appointed one, you got to get paid.
Yeah.
So
whether or not you're in it willingly, she's paying him. Yep.
Because he's doing that duty that's court appointed. Yeah.
Exactly. What a godsend. So during this time, this is taking up the largest portion of her money. And this is all at the conservator's discretion. And I don't know about you, but I feel like I would be a lot more liberal with someone else's money than I would with my own.
What do you want your salary to be for this thing that you're required to do by law? You get to pick it.
It's
and you know exactly how much money I have.
Yeah. Some of what his expenses were included a $16,000 per month salary plus $2,000 per month for office space, and then a percentage of any deal signed for BS. And I have to tell you, Taylor, Britney at this point only has a court-appointed lawyer representing her.
Because she can't get a lawyer outside of him because he's in charge of conservatorship.
Exactly. She doesn't have that choice. So she has a court-appointed lawyer. Meanwhile, he's hiring like the best lawyers for himself that she is paying for.
Exactly. She's paying the fees, which is just ridiculous.
She's basically paying the fees for the lawyers to fight against what she wants. She did eventually petition to get further representation, and her dad shot it down, saying it cost too much money. So lots of financially driven things involved. Like Taylor pointed out, the whole entire conservatorship maintenance adds up to at least $1.1 million.
Annually, right? Or is that over the entire period?
I'm just trying to think. His salary, 16. I don't know.
Well, I guess his salary is only just under 200,000, right around 200,000.
I'm taking it as a whole, so you know.
But 200,000, it goes on for longer than 5 years. That right there would be $1 million, and that would only be his salary. There's other things involved in it.
It's 18 years.
Yeah, so it's way more than $1 million.
Yeah. Okay.
Way more than $1 million.
So thanks for bringing that to our attention. Okay, so she's under literally my next breath. She's under the conservatorship for 13 years. And during most of this time, she is operating as normal Britney Spears. Nobody knows what's going on. That I kind of just...
She's putting on shows.
Yeah, nobody cares about the stuff I just talked talked about at this point. Everyone's like, oh my God, conservatorship. But she's acting so normal. All the shady stuff is happening in secret, and her career seemed to be operating as normal to us normies. Now, let's talk about some of the things that her life looked like under the conservatorship. She cannot make personal or financial decisions without the oversight of the conservatorship. Her father, she can't vote, she can't drive, she wasn't allowed to see her friends or get married without approval. Well, get married, no. See her friends, no, without approval. The conservatorship controls BS's estate, which is valued at about $60 million, which actually blows my mind, because weren't the dudes that went to the Titanic that like exploded worth billions?
Yeah.
And like Britney Spears isn't even worth that amount of money. Where do you get that money? Generational wealth.
Yeah.
Of
Yeah.
course.
Behind the Bastards just did a 2-part episode on Stockton Rush, the guy who owned the company for it.
Really?
It's a good listen. It's a good listen.
Oh, guy, I'm totally on that. I was just listening to the AI one that he put out. Anyhow, where were the orcas on that one?
Nobody was there to see what the orcas were doing.
It's true. It's true. If you follow Britney at all, you may know that the control entailed over her even included control over her body, such as the birth control she was or was not on. Spears also said she was refused to participate in a Las Vegas residency because her therapist received 1 million phone calls. That's super Canadian. 1 million phone calls about her behavior in rehearsals and failure to take her medication. Quote, all this was false. He immediately the next day put me on lithium out of nowhere. He took me off my normal meds I've been on for 5 years, Spears said, adding that the drug was much stronger than what she was used to being on and made her feel drunk. She said, I couldn't even have a conversation with my mom or dad really about anything. She said, adding that she had doctors and nurses at her home to monitor the medication, and her dad
and
was
force it down
happy
her throat,
about it
too, because she had to take it.
lithium. Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously couldn't control any of her money, make any personal decisions, get her nails done, change the color of her walls, order a pizza. She has millions of dollars but couldn't make the smallest decisions. She had her personal phone calls and text messages monitored, which is actually illegal. She herself said she was under 24-hour surveillance in her house, even when getting dressed. There's that. But also under conservatorship, she released 3 albums, went on a world tour, appeared as a judge on X Factor, and had a Las Vegas residency. So she looked completely put together for the outside world. And might I point out that with all of the above, super successful and would have taken a lot of discipline and hard work to uphold, not really something someone unable to take care of themselves would be able to uphold.
Somebody able to interact with society on a normal basis.
Yeah, and might I say also continue to make a profit for more than a decade. There's that. Let's talk about the people surrounding Britney Spears at the time. So there's Andrew Wallet, who was the
Co-conservator. Yeah.
I was about to say conspirator. Conservator.
I mean, kind of.
Yeah. He was a guardian since the inception of the conservatorship in 2008 to 2019, when he resigned a couple of months after he had petitioned for a raise to just about $500,000 a year, which he got. Weird that he resigned. Pin on that thought right there. So right there, that tells me, yes, probably 1.1 million per year.
Yeah.
Annually that they
For
were
sure.
spending, just based on that figure. Plus her dad's salary and office space, of course. Also involved, Britney's dad, Jamie. Just to give you a little background on him and what he's up to, he was present only intermittently during his daughter's rise to pop stardom. He wasn't the one driving her around to all these places. And in 2004, according to a court filing, Mr. Spears went to rehab for alcoholism. Married twice. His first wife had said he had a shitty upbringing. Second wife, Lynn, had filed for divorce and a restraining order, citing a fear that he would become angry when he is served with these papers and harass or harm her, especially if he has been drinking alcoholic beverages as he has done in the past. She had recalled years of verbal abuse, abandonment, and erratic behavior. They did reconcile and then actually a divorce in 2002. The mom said later that it was the best thing that ever happened to her family.
And Lynn's her mom, correct?
Yes. The singer stressed that she did not want her father in charge. A lawyer she consulted at that time said, but the judge overseeing the case, Reva Goetz, deemed Miss Spears incapable of hiring her own counsel and appointed Mr. Ingham, the court-appointed lawyer who represented her to this day. And I'm actually not sure if he was still representing her right up to the end or how long he was, because some of this information is from outdated articles to get everything put together here. The estranged dynamic between the two grew even more complicated after Mr. Spears, JS, a recovering alcoholic who was faced with accusations of physical and verbal abuse, took the lead in wrestling what he saw was his adult daughter's demons. He was like, I'm here for this. February 2008, according to court records, Judge Goetz deemed Mr. Spears a suitable and qualified person and granted him broad control over his daughter's daily life and alongside a co-conservator, her finances. He has no credentials to basically be doing any of what he's doing other than being her father, so they are assuming he has her best interest at heart. During this period, a former nanny and housekeeper for BS claimed that her dad engaged in verbal abuse, tirades, inappropriate behavior, and alcoholic relapses. According to a transcript, she asserted that she had been forced into a mental health facility against her will on exaggerated grounds, which she viewed as punishment for standing up for herself and making an objection during a rehearsal. She also claimed she had been forced to perform while sick with a 104-degree fever, calling it one of the scariest moments of her life. Ms. Spears' court-appointed lawyer said she wanted to explore removing her father of conservator, citing his drinking, among other objections, and a shopping list of grievances. Last year, again, I'm not sure what year this was, so sorry, it's good enough, told the judge that BS was afraid of her father, who remains a steward of her nearly $60 million fortune. BS said her father was obsessed with her and wanted to control everything about her. She could not make friends without his approval. Even as she earned millions from a successful Las Vegas residency, she said she was limited to a $2,000 weekly allowance. She described how she was forced to work without access to her credit card, cash, phone, and passport. The only thing she said that is similar to this is sex trafficking. Any mistakes resulted in very harsh consequences for BS, adding, according to the report, the conservatorship came with a lot of fear. She also said she had weekly meetings that she was to attend that were used as bargaining chips for her money and freedom. She said, it's not okay to force me to do anything I don't want to do. Honestly, I should be able to sue them for threatening me and saying if I don't go to these meetings twice a week, we can't let you have your money, go on Maui on your vacations, see your sons. I don't want to do that, and I haven't done anything to deserve this treatment. So that's kind of what's going on with her and her dad. Then there's the Free Britney movement, and this is still kind of under the same category as her dad because we kind of talk about it here. And this movement actually came around shortly after the conservatorship in 2009. I didn't know it was that long. And it was started by a website called breatheheavy.com, created by Jordan Miller, putting forth the movement that Britney Spears was being held against her will. Jordan did receive a call from BS's dad threatening to take the website down. BS's dad has said that the conservatorship was a smooth running machine that was doing exactly what it was intended, saving Britney, but in the end, she had the control to end it whenever she felt like. BS famously stayed silent on the subject other than being perfectly happy. However, now that the conservatorship has ended, we have learned differently. Britney Spears expressed serious opposition to the conservatorship almost immediately. She articulated she feels the conservatorship has become an oppressive and controlling tool against her. A court investigator wrote in 2016, the system had too much control, too much. She said she wanted the conservatorship terminated as soon as possible. She is sick of being taken advantage of, and she said she is the one working and earning her money, but everyone around her is on her payroll. She said she felt forced to perform against her will under the conservatorship and repeatedly voiced her concerns that Jamie was the gatekeeper of the conservatorship, like we've said many times. Now, I know it seems like I'm kind of jumping around a lot in this, but there's a method to my madness, and this is all information you're gonna need to know getting into what I'm gonna talk about now. During the conservatorship, the public image of BS's life gave little sense of the turmoil she was expressing privately. At the time she was expressing this to the court, it wasn't in an open court. We didn't know this. Anything that she was expressing outwardly was very controlled.
Yeah, because it was on stages where she was getting paid to make the appearances.
Not only that, so I'm going to start getting into the Instagram. An Instagram feed presented her as approachable. She made videos saying she's okay. She's never been happier. It doesn't look anything like what it looks like today, guys. It was just like kind of fun, like she's training for her tours, for her residencies, kind of stuff like that. So foreshadowing? Perhaps. I don't know. We're bad at foreshadowing here. We're really good at it. February 2019. A new lucrative Las Vegas show was set to begin. They're doing rehearsals. They do like a public promotional thing with Britney. And in front of all these people, she stops and she leaves. Like right when the event's getting started, she was set to make some sort of speech and she leaves without saying a word. Then a month before opening, January 4, 2019, BS announced an indefinite work hiatus, canceling the residency. She says the dad had almost died after suffering a ruptured colon, according to the statement, which noted that the pair's very special relationship. 3 days after this, Britney is spotted driving through an In-N-Out drive-through with her boyfriend at the time, Sam Asghari. Do you remember that I said driving was a no-no?
Yes.
That was a rule. I'm not sure what rule it was, but it was a rule.
I'm sure there were many rules we weren't aware of that she had to follow.
Sadly. After this, BS is MIA for months. Poof, gone. Her Instagram is silent, where it was pretty regularly updated. Her boyfriend's not posting anything of her. Nobody's seeing her anywhere. She's gone. Shortly after, in March, kind of shortly after, I mean, this is in January. In March, Wallet resigns. Wallet, the co-conservator, resigns. Repin the pin we put down earlier because this is what he had to say about his resignation. Quote, the conservatorship is engaged in numerous ongoing business activities requiring immediate attention. It is therefore in the best interest of the conservatee that the acceptance of Wallet's resignation and the issuance of the amended letters of the conservatorship of the estate occur immediately without delay. Substantial detriment, irreparable harm, and immediate danger will result to the conservatee and her estate if the relief request herein is not granted on an ex parte basis. End quote. What do you think of that?
That's a very weird thing to say. Like, something dangerous will happen if I stay in this role, basically is what he said. That sounds like he knows stuff, for sure.
Yeah. There's a lot of people whose ears kind of perk up at this time because she's gone. Nobody knows where she is. And I'm assuming, as a co-conservator, he knows where she is. So a lot of people's ears perk up and are like, something's not right. Now, continuing on with the timeline happening here, prior to the conservatorship being over, there was an anonymous voicemail left for a fan podcast called Britney's Gram by someone claiming to be a paralegal with first-hand involvement in the conservatorship. The guy checks out. They fully vetted him that he is actually this person he says he is, and he was. And he raised alarms about BS physically and mental well-being and autonomy. This started some questions being asked. Her Instagram had been dark for months, a huge contrast to what it had been previously. And what the paralegal says on the voicemail is that Britney was in rehearsal for her Vegas residency, had refused to take some sort of medication that she legally was required to take. And the dad says, either you take the medication or your show's off and I'm pulling my support. Quick pause in that story because Britney Spears tells a slightly different story on her little YouTube thing she put out after the conservatorship end. She said she refused to perform a specific dance move in rehearsals. She said, I remember everything got really weird and quiet and all the directors and producers went in the back room and just spoke and that was it, she said. The next day I was told that I was being sent away to a facility and I was supposed to stay on my Instagram. The reason was because my dad was sick and I needed treatment. Spears claimed that she called her father crying, but all he told her was to listen to the doctors. You don't have to go, but if you don't go, we're going to go to court and there will be a big trial and you're going to lose. I have more people on my side than you. You don't have any lawyers, so don't even think about it. I'm kind of giving away where we're going with that. I had to get her side of events out after that though. Okay, back to the paralegal. Obviously she didn't do it and so the show was pulled. He said, blame it on my illness. BS is still not following through. BS is then seen driving big no-no. BS was in the mental facility since January. This voicemail was left in April, and she was still at the mental health facility with no apparent end in sight. She was forced to go. April 3rd, Britney's Instagram posts a little meme, and in quotes it says, "We all need to take a little me time," with a happy face emoji. Red flags immediately for anyone that likes Britney Spears, because this is clearly not Britney Spears. She does not use the smiley face emoji. She loves emoji, not that one.
Like, she just posted a picture of herself, doesn't she? Like, this is just as common.
No, she does post a lot of memes actually still.
Okay.
But this is clearly not her posting here. An hour after this post, TMZ is reporting that Britney Spears checked herself into a mental health facility the week before for a month. This means that TMZ was being fed information and was outright lying, and her Instagram was obviously being uploaded on her behalf and was made to look as if she wanted to go to this facility. It's around this time that mental health starts to become a big thing, of people taking time for mental health, focusing on mental health. So I think it was kind of meant as a like, yeah, go Britney, like you check yourself into that mental health if you need it, so that people are supporting her instead of being like, wait, what is she doing? Speaking of her time in this facility, Spears claimed that she was forced to give 6 vials of blood every week and work all day without breaks. She also claimed that she didn't have a door on her room, saying security guards and others at the facility watched her change naked every day. At the facility, she wasn't allowed to go to her AA meetings, and she missed having that support group. The Free Britney movement actually helped her to leave that facility. She says she feels let down by everyone closest to her because her fans were the ones fighting for her to be free, when any person close to her could have ended it immediately. Reflecting on the trauma of the experience, Spears says, "They literally killed me. They threw me away. That's what it felt like. My family threw me away." With all of this information coming to light, everyone starts asking the few people around her what's going on with Britney. No one has anything to say. Her mom, her business manager, Lou Taylor, who's in the loop with everyone close to her. There weren't many.
And this wallet guy backs out at this time and saying, like, I don't want to be involved with this.
Yeah, so this is probably why he wanted out of it. He didn't want any liability that went along with it, probably. I think I talk about it. Let's wait and see. The leaks continue from the paralegal. He went on to say about Wallet resigning. The reason everything happened so fast is because he didn't want any stir of liability with this whole fiasco. I wouldn't say he's on Britney's side, but he was definitely uncomfortable with her being forced into a mental institution. It got too messy for him. It was like, I've done all I can do with this and I'm not about to get disbarred.
Yeah.
So that was what the paralegal said. He went on to say that this was said in a meeting, quote, "At the very least, this will help with ticket revenue when we re-announce Vegas," end quote. He went on to say that management has final say in what stays in the interviews and what stays out. You should see the behavior of them whenever she is booked on something with a live audience. They're freaked the fuck out because whatever leaves her mouth can't just be edited out. Celebrities have spoken out about Britney Spears under the conservatorship. Carson Daly, for one, tweeted, quote, "I was told my Britney Spears interview tomorrow on AMP Radio must be pre-recorded and submitted for approval by her management before it can air. F that. Never been restricted. Even when I interviewed Michael Jackson, it wasn't anything like this. It's really insane." One person tweeted he was acting unprofessional, to which Daly replied, quote, "I'm unprofessional? Faking an entire interview? Just shocked her management won't let her do normal interview. She probably doesn't even know I've known and supported her since she was 15. This has nothing to do with her, just her people." Iggy Azalea, who I'm totally not familiar with, released a song with Britney Spears, and she says she signed a non-disclosure and her father could and probably would sue her. She said, quote, "Personally witnessed the same behavior Britney detailed in regards to her father. It's basic human decency to at the very least remove a person Britney has identified as abusive from her life. This should be illegal. During the time we worked together in 2015, I personally witnessed the same behavior Britney detailed in regards to her father last week, and I just want to back her up and tell the world she's not exaggerating or lying. I saw her restricted from even the most bizarre and trivial things, like how many sodas she was allowed to drink. Why is that even necessary? Her father conveniently waited until literally moments before our VMA performance when I was backstage in the dressing room, and he told me if I didn't sign the NDA, he would not allow me on stage. That's a power trip. The way he went on about getting me to sign a contract sounded similar to the tactics Britney spoke about last week in regards to her Las Vegas show. Jamie Spears had a habit of making people sign documents while under duress, it seems, and Britney Spears should not be forced to coexist with that man while she's made it clear it is negatively impacting her mental health. This is not right at all. End quote from Iggy Azalea. From those who don't know, Iggy's contract signing comment was in regards to Britney saying she was forced to sign a contract to go on tour immediately after leaving the stage. In her testimony, Britney Spears said, "He handed me a sheet of paper as I got off stage in Vegas and said I had to sign it. It was very threatening and scary, and with the conservatorship, I couldn't even get my own attorney, so out of fear, I went ahead and did the tour." The paralegal goes on to say the conservatorship was supposed to end after her circus tour in 2009. It was go on tour, show us that you're stable and well, and this conservatorship will help you gain custodial rights of your children. If you see any footage of her on the Femme Fatale tour, I don't know what one that is, I'm sorry. It's limited because she appears to be extremely sluggish and extremely medicated. Her and everyone's understanding was that Mr. Spears would petition the court to end the conservatorship after the circus tour. That didn't happen, and from what I understand, BS had another sort of mental break. Now, this mental break to me would most likely be as a result of the conservatorship not ending when it was supposed to be only a year.
Oh yeah, if you hear that you're like about to be out of jail on this day, and then on that day they say, sorry, you actually have like a life prison.
It's indefinite.
Yeah.
Again, empathizing with her on that one. I would have, if I was presented with most of the stuff that I've said in this episode, I would be having many a mental break. So he then says that they vet every single person that comes into contact with Britney Spears, and essentially the reason behind everything is money, as you pointed out. She was alone, essentially. She had no one. The people closest to her were taking advantage of her.
And that's not only that. When she was talking about being removed from at like Vegas rehearsal, the threat was, we won't let you do this. And that would be her only chance to interact with people who aren't just part of this conservatorship or be in prison, basically. So that was like taking away her yard time.
That's true.
Like she is in solitary confinement, basically. It's ridiculous.
Oh, it's really bad. So anyhow, with this whole Las Vegas story that I just told you, she's in a mental health facility for months. And it was very secretive. This is where they put out the Instagram that's clearly not Britney Spears. She puts out an Instagram saying, you know, guys, I'm okay. I've never been happier, blah, blah, blah. This is where everyone starts reading into the little details Britney Spears is posting on her Instagram, because everyone was thinking that the social media posts she was making since the blackout were off. And they ended up getting all of this confirmation that she was lying, saying she was happy, that someone else was actually posting on her behalf because she was forcibly put into a mental institution. And that is where we're leaving off for next week. That was my natural ending point.
Wow, that's a great spot to end it. Let's have a little bit of a cliffhanger here. The end of the conservatorship and see what happens from here.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's see.
I have been Taylor, here with Chelsea. We are Journey to the Fringe. Thank you all for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Journey to the Fringe. If you have liked what you have listened to, please like, share, subscribe, or follow, depending on what venue you are listening to us through. Also, please, if possible, leave a 5-star review, as that really helps us in the algorithms. Should you wish to interact with us, please check us out on your social media of choice. I bet you we are there. And if you really want to communicate with us and give us ideas for new episodes, or tell us that we're wrong and terrible, either way, please send us an email at journeytothefringe@gmail.com. For now, I'll see you in the next episode.